Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. I've got a quick little replay for you guys today against a 2.2k MMR opponent, showcasing some of the SABERTOOTH's scenarios where it can actually be useful. Now, my opponent here goes for missile spec with a tarantula opener, so probably going to be expecting some aggro for him, and I actually decide to pick up the SABERTOOTH specialist. Got a nice slab of hit points there, got some fangs on round 1 to be able to, well, use as my front line. And honestly, a pretty good matchup. I think heading into spiders with sabers always will give you at least some tempo because they're tanky and, well, spiders is exactly the type of unit that these guys want to take down. For round 1, I was considering buying Arclights or Hounds. I think Hounds perform slightly better in the long run, but you need them to get levels to be able to one-shot crawlers. So I do decide to go for that, but I was briefly considering buying Arclights because they actually do one-shot the crawlers on round 1. And I might struggle here, I'm not exactly sure. Deciding to kind of pair them up with the sabers. The reason for doing this is you always kind of want to try and line up your chaff clear units with your DPS. That way, if there's a big unit, your chaff doesn't get stuck too long because hopefully your DPS is shooting at it as well. And vice versa, if there are crawlers, then your chaff clear should help out your sabers. Now, because my opponent is missile spec here, I actually will be creating a little bit of spacing in between them because I didn't want him to hit both the saber and the hounds too easily, especially if I want to add some more crawlers behind. We'll have to see how this works out. Saber here does get locked into the crawlers, and while my opponent goes for 2 more sets of crawlers, making a total of 5, that might prove to be an issue down the line. And you can see here the hounds are doing their best, splashing onto quite a few crawlers, but as they're not one-shotting it, that is creating some problems. And now that all of the hounds are gone and my fangs are deciding to run into the tarantula, this saber is getting DPS down by, well, about half a pack of crawlers, I'd say. Eventually it will get rid of it, but by that time it's too little too late, and opponent actually will take the first round. So that's where I think Arclights would have performed better. I was just kind of thinking more about the long-term situation where hounds are simply faster at chaff clearing than Arclights in a headbutt scenario. Round number 2, we get a shield airdrop. There's a rhino available as well. I decided to take the shield because obviously I am up against this missile strike, and I wanted to try and block it if possible. Now, that does mean that because I want to buy a Phoenix, since that's what I was expecting my opponent to do, it doesn't leave me with a lot of resources to try and cover the rhino. And so I was kind of just hoping that he wouldn't go for it because, well, that would be rather difficult to deal with. Instead, I'm just going to set up another hound. We do need something here on the left to try and help out this SABERTOOTH. And, well, we're just playing for the long run, hoping that this rhino doesn't get used, but it does. And, well, alas, it will be going for a tower. We will be getting debuffed. With the Phoenix purchase there as well, rather aggressive positioning, I have to say, but jump drive's available, and there's a good chance opponent will be going for that. I will lose my shield, sadly, so doesn't really pay off here. Both of us going for a spell pickup, but opponent comes out ahead, and, well, a lot of units survive, so we take a fair bit of damage. Round number 3, I get my saber, and keep in mind, SABERTOOTH Specialist also makes all of your saber techs 50 cheaper, so we might want to use that at some point. And round number 3, we get Fire Badger, Vulcan, Typhoon, and Marksman, and I was already starting to kind of regret my decision with the hounds, because it didn't seem like they were going to get a level anytime soon, and I was still struggling a lot. Plenty of crawlers on the board. I need some chaff clear. Now, Vulcan doesn't tend to do too well on the front line. It's very big, easy to target, and also easy to distract by having it basically lock on to a tanky unit immediately. So instead, I decide to pick up the Badgers here. Level 3 Badger should be able to deal with crawlers easily. My opponent goes for it as well. I did kind of expect this to happen, the jump drive play. Wasn't sure that he would go for this much of a commitment though. Picks up the Badger as well, aims it at the right tower. I decide to go for another Phoenix, trying to evade this missile, or at least make sure that if my opponent goes for this Phoenix, which would be expected, I have another Phoenix back to at least deal with the air units. Now, we go for more Badgers. And at this point, I'm just trying to replace the Hounds with Badgers. We'll put a missile on the right side, but that's not going to be quite enough, as there was quite the commitment, and so I will get Tara debuffed once again. I will say, though, Badger is doing a decent job, even during the debuff, of clearing the enemy crawlers, and that means it frees up our sabers, finally, to shoot at the spiders, and, well, they do perform. Even managing to pick up a level there, I believe, if the game will allow me to click on it. Yes, there we go. And considering that we got debuffed here, I'm not too unhappy about this situation. It does look like we'll be losing. Not enough of my units going to the enemy tower, no debuff, and the Badgers are slightly too tanky, but with only 2 Badgers and 2 Phoenixes surviving, I don't think I can complain too much. I feel like with the commitment on the right side and the debuff, things were actually looking rather good for our board. And now on round 4, we get a quick teleport and a redeploy. Both of those options looking quite good. Didn't really feel efficient giant manufacturing here. I wanted to make use of my sabers because they seem to be doing well. I wanted to purchase a couple more fire badgers as well. Now, looking at the enemy board, whenever someone puts a crawler or a chaff unit vertically like this, it is fully pullable by a deep flank. And I wanted to make use of that, so it's why I go for quick teleport. Trying to pull as many of the enemy units as possible, and making sure that he has less chaff so that the sabers can lock on earlier. I also go for Scorch first. Reason for this is that level 1 Badgers can sometimes struggle to kill crawlers by themselves. If all 3 are shooting at the same pack, you're fine, but if it's only the one, you'll see that their DPS is actually not that high. Of course, now it's boosted by the 100% attack from Scorch, but a lone Badger can take, I think, up to a second by itself to kill a crawler, so I really wanted to up that first before clicking the range. Now, the right tower, I'm going to level, put a Badger there as well. Not really defending it too much. Just wanted to get rid of the chaff as much as possible. And we see kind of more cheeses happening here, at least attempts at. Crawlers being added to the board. I mean, a lot of them at this point. Really need to grab some chaff, and that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm happy with how I'm reading the board so far. Phoenixes are well positioned though, level 2. So we'll be able to one-shot the Badgers, but they double up their shots, so they're not taking care of the units that fast. Badger still manages to get rid of 2 crawler packs, and by the looks of it, the units are not going for my tower. So pretty happy with that. If I can pull them in the middle, then that'll be all the better. Okay, 2 Badgers do turn, but again, Badgers don't have the most DPS. And meanwhile, our flank got through thanks to that quick teleport, gets a debuff. And all we need to do now is manage to get rid of these Phoenixes, and we've just got ourselves a win by default. So, lovely round. Not overcommitting too much to the right side. Pulling the enemy units in. And at the same time, striking back on that left tower and kind of punishing the chaff positioning and heavy crawler commitment from the opponent. Opponent did go for range on the spiders last turn, by the way. Round number 5, sledgehammers show up. I didn't want to pick the sledgehammers or the phantoms here because when I'm already relying on, well, effectively a similar type unit, mid-sized unit like the Badger, if I go sledgehammer as well, that's really asking for something like raiden to be purchased. So instead, what I'm going to do here is pick up the marksman, expecting my opponent to go raiden. Because that's what I would do in this situation, right? I can see that 2 of the drops are mid-sized units. I can see that my opponent is relying on Badgers to chaff clear. So if I were him, I would pair this up with a raiden. And we see the opponent selling out of the Badgers. And then going for, indeed, the raiden. Armor is being clicked on the sledgehammers. This is very, very strong against Badgers. You can see even the level 1 with Scorch doesn't even get up to 60. So can't actually damage those sledgehammers whatsoever. And in the meantime, we're going for another badger here on the top right flank, making use of quick teleport. A sledgehammer finds its way to defend the flank against our badgers from last round. And a missile there. With an attempted flank. But luckily our phoenixes can survive the missile because we managed to click the first defense enhancement. And I'm happy here about my marksman pickup, because that'll allow us to get into aerial specialization. I don't think our opponent will be trying to get out of Raiden at this point. He seems pretty committed, having clicked that unlock cost. And of course also because Raiden is just good into our board if it can connect with the badgers. But yeah, a good read there, and that gives us quite a bit of tempo. And in the meantime, I'm seeing the badgers are doing relatively well. They've been killing the spiders, they've been surviving, tanking, and our opponent's board really doesn't have that much single target DPS. It's a lot of tankiness, it's a lot of chaff clear and mid-sized unit damage, but it's not single target DPS. So I'm deciding to invest a bit more into the sabers here, and I can see myself buying a lot more sabers down the line. But first we're going to click secondary armament, finally making use of our specialist. Because, well, it's a cheap tech, and it's pretty good against low-level sledgehammers if you've got leveled sabers. Doesn't quite one-shot the sledgehammers. I mean, the level 3 does. 2k damage per level, per side gun. So, 6k on this one, 4k on the blue one. But this can definitely help, and if you're up in tempo and the sabers are being useful, I think it's not a bad tech to click in a headbutt scenario, especially when you're Sabertooth specialist and the tech only costs 150 at that point. Rhino is back off cooldown. I do beacon my phoenixes backwards. This is two purposes. One, trying to make sure that they don't move forward and miss the Rhino. And two, I don't want them to run into the Raiden. Because a secondary reason why I go Marksman here is I think Marksman is way better into Raiden than Phoenix. Phoenix can do the job, but it's a bit lower range and it can sometimes just get targeted out of nowhere because of how the Raiden targeting works. And yeah, range here being picked up could spell trouble, but we click the aerial specialization. I go for the EMP spell here in the back line to try and disable the armor because I think my fire badgers should be able to win. And we add a crawler as well to distract those sledgehammers. Another flank comes through, but we preempted that with a phoenix. And even though we got debuffed a couple times in the early game, that will no longer happen. And you can really see that the Sabertooth here are doing a fantastic job of locking up some of these Raiden shots. And that's exactly what we need for our marksmen to do their thing. Now, right side, I am running out of chaff clear, or I have run out of chaff clear. Only the battery from the flank is still alive. But we will eventually get there. And as the final level 3 Sabertooth, which picked up a level again, tanks the final Raiden shot, we will be coming out ahead, if only marginally. But at this point, opponent is down to 1100 hit points. And we might be able to finish things here, especially with a lightning storm showing up. I mean, that's scary for the both of us. Opponent picks it up. I should probably go for it as well. This spell is just... it's not even, like, mainly used for, like, dealing with big things. I mean, that's not the type of damage it deals, but it's really good at getting rid of chaff. And, of course, like, smaller air units, like my phoenixes. But what we're gonna do here is fully rely on the ground. Again, I identify that my opponent doesn't have amazing DPS. I can see that he struggles with the saber, so I pick up the field maintenance here, and I decide to buy 2 more sabers. Of course, elite recruited, we need them to have the extra hit points from the level. And then we're just kind of going to put those slightly on the right side, one on the flank as well. Again, we have quick TP, and if I can get these sabers, and well, now the spider, to lock on to this guy, I think we might be able to get into the tower yet again. Yeah, here we go. Unfortunately, though, the phoenixes that were over there decide to turn, but the regen is doing a decent job of offsetting some of the damage it's taking. And as long as this can lock on and kill that spider, we might be able to get into tower. Yeah, here we go. It will die eventually. but it survives just long enough to shoot its shot, dies, but then the tower goes down, and with that debuff, the main fight's looking fantastic. Look at all those sabers surviving. High-level marksman. Eventually we'll be able to find the locks and get rid of those raidens. As we're now moving into the right tower, all we have to do is move on to the left, get rid of those raidens as well. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 200 plus 2 marksmen, 1200 damage. That'll be just about enough to seal the deal. A quick one, but I wanted to showcase a game where Sabertooth is actually played. I don't always think that you can pull this off. It needs a lot of tempo, it needs the right situation, but this was the right situation. I got a good matchup early on into the spiders. My opponent didn't really go for high DPS, right? Only went for the one Phoenix that he was moving around and getting some success. It is top on damage after all, but Raiden isn't meant to deal with big things unless you've got Iron Eyes. And, well, since he doesn't run it, and I wasn't expecting him to click it, even if he did, we identified that the sabers could be quite useful. Side armaments was nice. Cheap tech allows us to deal with the sledgehammers a bit better. We are, after all, a Sabertooth specialist. And then we also identified that Raiden here would likely be the play for the opponent that would be the scariest to deal with. So we picked the marksman from the drop, tried to set up for that, because I don't particularly like Phoenixes into Raiden. Sometimes you have to do it, but if you can avoid it, then marksman tends to do a bit better. Longer range tends to be a bit safer. And, well, making some good plays with the quick teleport. It is good to make some proactive plays yourself, especially when the opponent is trying to get at your towers. So, yeah, a really good recovery. We lost some early rounds. I'm not too happy with the hounds, I would say. Probably if I had to redo this, I would buy arc lights, but getting the fire badger drop definitely was nice, because otherwise I might have had some trouble chaff clearing against spiders. And, yeah, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of Sabertooth, Sabertooth spec. Do you like the unit? Do you not like it? Are you struggling with it? Post it down below. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. And with that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.